welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is Megan Daphne Living, where I share everything from home decor, DIY, and creative inspiration so that you can take your house and turn it into a home that you love. I believe that it starts with the confidence that you can and will figure it out. If you're new to DIY and you're starting to tackle projects around your home, be sure to hit that subscribe button because I've got lots to share. When I was giving my bedroom a makeover, I had a very specific nightstand style that I had in mind, and I knew I wanted it to be black because I had a lot of beige and white already going on in the room and I needed that contrast, and I couldn't find what I liked for an affordable price. So I saw nightstands that I liked. They were $440 each, and I realized I could make them through a DIY project for half the cost. And that's exactly what I did, and I'm going to share today with you the project so that you can make them too. I used the Rast IKEA nightstands. Not sure if I'm saying that properly. And I also got the bamboo armrest for the couches, which I use to be the fluted faces on the front of the drawers. The only tool that I used was a circular saw to cut the bamboo armrest into the right size to glue to the front of the drawers. Okay, so let's get into it. Here is a photo of the inspiration I had and the two pieces of materials that I had purchased from IKEA, which is the Rast IKEA nightstand and the bamboo armrests. So I started by taking everything out of the box, and at first I was going to start assembling it, but then I quickly stopped and realized it would be way easier to paint everything first and then assemble. So I started by doing a couple color swatches just to nail down the color of paint that I was going to use, and then started to take apart all these bamboo armrests so that I could cut them to size and face them on the front of the nightstand drawers. So I just laid the bamboo armrest face down and then put the face of the drawers on it and traced it out. It works out really well that you can just cut off the last 3 rows of the bamboo armrest. And you can see here I just scored it with my knife and it was a perfect fit. And then I just used a pen to trace out the width of it and used my circular saw to cut it. You can see that the bamboo armrests, they have like this material on the back. So once I used my circular saw, it did have a bit of a fuzzy end. So I just took my scissors and I angled them to cut it off. So you don't want to like go straight on. You can see that I angle my scissors a bit underneath, and that got rid of it completely, which was great because we didn't want to see that on the top or bottom of the drawers. Once all the pieces were cut, I took some Gorilla Glue and attached the bamboo armrest to the faces of the drawers. I didn't use any tools for this, just glue. Once I attached them, I used some weights and cans of food just to put weight on it to hold it down until it fully dried. Then once they were dry, I took 220 grit sandpaper and sanded every single piece down front and back. I found the Rast IKEA nightstand was a little bit rough, so I did give it a really good sanding. And then I wiped everything down with a cloth multiple times to ensure all the dust was gone. You definitely want to sand. You don't want to skip this part so that your primer will stick. I use Bin Primer, which is the best primer. It's a shellac base. It will cover up all the pine knots. It's the only primer I know that will do that, so I highly recommend using this one. It is a little more expensive than your typical primer, but it's worth it because you do not want to do a paint job and then a year later have your pine knots bleeding through. I did find that this really soaked up the primer. You're definitely going to want to do 2 coats and make sure it's on there good. When I primed the bamboo armrest space, I should have used a paintbrush to get in the grooves, but I didn't. I just rolled. In hindsight, I should have done that, and I do recommend you do it. I did that when I ended up doing my 2 coats of paint. I then noticed that when I used the saw, part of the corners of the bamboo armrest chipped a little bit, so I just took some wood filler, filled that in, and sanded it down just to kind of blend it in, and I was good to go. Once everything was dry, it had a really rough texture, so I took my sandpaper and I went back over everything just with a few light wipes, nothing aggressive, and it made the surface really smooth. And then I wiped that all down to get rid of all the dust before getting ready to paint. But I do recommend this because otherwise it just had this really tacky, rough feeling. Then it was time for my favorite part, which is to paint, and I used the best of the best, the Sherwin-Williams urethane trim enamel paint. I went with the color Tricorn Black, and I started with the paintbrush to get in those grooves I was talking about earlier, and then brushed immediately over so that you couldn't see any of the brush stroke marks. and it ended up having such a beautiful finish. I did need to do 2 coats and then a couple little touch-ups as well in some other little spots once everything was dry. Once everything was dry, it was time to assemble everything as per the lovely detailed IKEA instructions. Once we had everything assembled, I opted for some nice new knobs that I got on Amazon, which I'll link for you. They were an aged brass style. We drilled the hole through the existing hole that was already in the face of the drawers just to get through that bamboo armrest, and then attached our new hardware. And you could see the screws on the side here. I just decided to paint them black to blend in, which was a great fix. And then I found this extension cord on Amazon. I plugged it in behind our bed and then fished it through the back of the nightstands. It came with these stickers, so I just attached them to the wall. This is such a great way to hide all your cords, to have your charging station right by your bed, but not to have the mess of all the cords everywhere. I really love this little hack to hide everything. And there you have it, these IKEA Rast nightstand hack. Again, the ones that I was looking at were $440 each, and I was able to make these for half the cost. It was a really fun project, definitely beginner friendly, and you only really need one tool to cut the bamboo armrest down to size. And I just love the way that these tie into our bedroom. They add a little contrast as I have a lot of beige and browns going on, so I love that I went with the color black. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more home decor and DIY creative inspirations. If you like this video, I also have another video that I'll link for you where I created my own DIY textured canvas art to go above my bed. It was $40 and looks like it's a couple $100 piece of artwork. You've got to check it out. See you next time.